We're jumping into this incredible retrospective piece on a legendary Japanese racehorse named Admire Groove.
Right, because when you look at the source material, this isn't just a basic sports biography.
Yeah, not at all. Okay, let's unpack this.
It operates as this really fascinating case study in the collision between massive expectations and, well, messy reality.
The reality is always messy.
Always. The texts show us a story about psychology just as much as physical endurance. It asks, what happens when the narrative written for you completely overrides the life you actually have to live?
And to really understand that pressure, we have to look at her starting line, literally and genetically.
Oh, her pedigree is just, it's insane.
Right. When you look at her pedigree, you are staring at absolute racing royalty. She was born on April 30, 2000 at Northern Farm, sired by Sunday Silence, who is just a titan of the sport.
A total legend.
Yeah. And then foaled by Air Groove, widely considered one of the greatest mares in the entire history of Japanese racing. So at auction, Admire Groove sells for around 230 million yen.
Which is just a staggering amount.
Mind-blowing. Handed over to trainer Mitsuru Hashida, ridden by the legendary jockey Yutaka Taka, and right out of the gate, she actually delivers.
She really does.
She wins her debut, takes the Erica show, and just dominates the Wakaba Stakes, like 3 straight commanding victories. It's almost like being a Nepo baby, but
with actual undeniable world-class talent.
yes.
What's fascinating here is that 230 million yen price tag, it is not just a financial transaction.
Right.
In the bloodstock world, a number that high functions as a physical, undeniable manifestation of expectation.
It's a heavy number.
It is. The source explicitly calls her pedigree perfection on paper. Buyers aren't just, paying for good bone structure or muscle tone.
They're buying a story.
Exactly. They are purchasing a guaranteed future. The narrative was cemented before she even stepped onto a track. She was a royal heir, and anything short of completely dominating her generation would be viewed as a total failure.
But wait, I have to ask. With genetics like Sunday Silence and Air Groove, and those 3 incredibly dominant early wins, doesn't the DNA basically guarantee the success?
You would think so, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's like taking over that business, but actually having a genius-level intellect. Why is the pressure a bad thing if she is biologically built to win?
Well, assuming physical dominance translates directly to a smooth path ignores the sheer, unpredictable chaos of race day.
Oh, I see.
When those starting gates crash open, you are dealing with living, breathing variables.
It's not a vacuum.
Not at all. You have deafening crowd noise, unpredictable track conditions, the split-second tactical decisions of 15 other jockeys.
There's just so many things that can go wrong.
Right. The genetics provide the horsepower, but the psychology drives it. The pressure of being the undisputed favorite can manifest an anxiety which physically drains energy before the race even begins.
Man, and that vulnerability really gets exposed the moment she meets her perfect foil. A horse named Still in Love.
Ah, yes, Still in Love.
Which brings us to the Triple Tiara, the ultimate test for 3-year-old fillies in Japan. And the sources frame this not just as a series of races, but as a grueling, escalating psychological crisis.
That's a perfect way to describe it.
It starts with the Okasho, the first leg. Admire Groove enters as the heavy favorite, naturally.
Of course.
But she stumbles at the start. She unleashes this massive, powerful late charge, but she misses. She finishes third.
The Oka show is so important because it proves we have to look at her mental state. Her physical speed was clearly there at the end, right?
Yeah, she was flying.
But a stumble at the break often points to a horse losing focus, or maybe tensing up in the gate.
Like gripping the steering wheel too tight.
Exactly. And that anxiety completely compounds as the pressure mounts going into the second leg, the Oaks.
Oh, the Oaks.
Because the dream of a historic mother-daughter Oaks victory is entirely dependent on this one single performance.
And the Oaks is where the pristine narrative really starts to fracture. So she's the favorite again. But the sources note she gets overly excited before the race even begins.
She was burning out in the paddock.
Yeah, she brakes poorly again and gets stuck in the back. And now the race is run at a remarkably slow pace. Admire Groove ends up recording the fastest finishing time of any horse in the field, but
she finishes 7th.
Right, 7th. Here's where it gets really interesting to me. If she's running the fastest final stretch, isn't she technically the fastest horse out there, just, cursed by bad luck and a slow pace?
It's easy to look at it that way, but no. When the pace is slow, the front runners aren't burning much ATP, their cellular energy.
Okay.
They are essentially going for a light jog for the first half of the race.
Just cruising.
Right. So by the time Admire Groove makes her explosive late charge from the back of the pack, the horses in front of her are fully rested.
Wow.
Yeah, they can sprint to the finish line just as fast. A late charger relies on the front runners exhausting themselves early. A slow pace completely neutralizes her primary biological weapon.
That makes so much sense.
So the trap is looking only at her final speed metric. True champions must master their own temperament.
Which she didn't do here.
Exactly. By getting overly excited before the race, she wasted crucial mental and emotional energy, leading to the poor break, which ultimately put her at the mercy of that slow pace.
So it's not bad luck at all. It's a failure to manage the moment.
Precisely.
Which honestly makes the autumn races even more tragic. She rebounds in the row stakes, actually defeating Still in Love, reclaiming her status.
A brief glimmer of hope.
A huge glimmer. But then comes the Shuka Show, the third and final leg of the Triple Tiara. Her absolute last chance at a classic. And the text says she does everything right this time.
She really did.
She tracks Still in Love closely, fights incredibly hard down the stretch, but finishes second. Still in Love wins the Triple Tiara.
It's brutal.
It's like being the high school valedictorian, showing up to an Ivy League college and immediately getting outshined by the kid in your freshman dorm.
That's a rough feeling.
3 classics, 3 times the favorite, 3 defeats.
And the Shuka Show strips away all the excuses. In the Oka Show, she made a mechanical mistake. In the Oaks, she lost her emotional composure.
Right.
But the tragedy of the Shuka Show is that she ran a tactically perfect race. She fought to the absolute end and simply met a horse who was better on that day.
That has to hurt more.
Oh, definitely. Facing that reality, when you've been told from birth that your bloodline makes you invincible, it is a crushing psychological blow.
So I have to ask you, as a listener, when you fail at the one thing everyone invested 230 million yen in you to do you quit?
A lot of people would.
Yeah, but for Admire Groove, the narrative in these sources pivots right here. From heartbreak to something much more compelling, redemption.
Yes.
She goes into the Queen Elizabeth II Cup, the QE2. That's her 5th battle against Still in Love. But the context is entirely different now. For the first time in a major showdown, she is not the favorite.
She is the challenger.
Yes.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, stripping away that favorite title changes the entire dynamic.
So.
Well, during the Triple Tiara, she was carrying the ghost of her mother, the historic price tag, the pristine narrative. Going into that first QE2 Cup, the Triple Tiara dream was dead.
It was over.
Right. And in a strange way, that failure set her free. Without the expectation that she would easily sweep her generation, she was finally permitted to just be a horse fighting for a win.
In a fierce, grinding stretch battle, she pushes past Still in Love and claims her first G1 victory.
A huge moment for her.
She finally gets it. And she doesn't just fade away after that. In her 4-year-old season, she struggles a little bit in the Osaka High and Kinko show, but then drops back to dominate the Mermaid Stakes.
Finding her footing again?
Yeah, and in the autumn, she grabs a really solid 3rd in the Tenno show behind Zena Rob Roy. Then she returns to the QE2 Cup. Facing Sweep Tosho, who is the new Shuka Show winner, Admire Groove passes the frontrunner Osuni Haruka in the stretch to win back-to-back QE2 Cups.
Which is incredible. Winning back-to-back QE2 Cups is a rare and defining achievement. It functions as her definitive statement to the racing world.
Like she's saying, I'm still here.
Exactly. She wasn't just Air Groove's talented daughter anymore. She had forged her own distinct identity.
So what does this all mean? Did losing the Triple Tiara actually save her legacy?
I would argue yes.
Like, by failing to meet their expectations, she was forced into the dirt. She had to build the gritty, tangible resilience needed to grind out those later victories.
That's spot on. If she had cruised to victory early on, she might never have developed that fight. She proved her royal bloodline was about endurance, not just inherent perfection.
But as she gets older, she tries to follow exactly in her mother's footsteps one last time. And the sources reveal a hard truth about knowing your own limitations.
Yeah, this part is really telling.
Tell me about her 5-year-old season, because she starts entering mixed-gender races.
Well, Air Groove built a huge part of her legend by racing against and beating top-tier male horses.
Right, she was a pioneer.
Naturally, the connections for Admire Groove attempt the same path. They enter her in grueling mixed-gender races like the Tenno Show Spring. but she shrinks under the pressure against the males.
She just can't do it.
No, she cannot show her best form in those specific conditions.
Why is that? What is the actual difference when racing against males? Is it just a mental block because she's intimidated? Or is there a physical reality she's hitting?
It's mostly physical. Racing against males when you're a filly is, well, it's like a featherweight boxer stepping into a middleweight ring.
Oh, I see.
Even if your foot speed is comparable, the sheer physical toll of fighting for position against heavier, more aggressive bodies, it drains your stamina twice as fast.
Because they're just pushing you around.
Exactly. A 500-kilogram colt moves differently through a tight pack than a filly does. Air Groove happened to have the unique physical bulk and temperament to bump shoulders in that environment.
She was built like a tank.
Pretty much. But Admire Groove was built for a different kind of finesse, you know? Measuring success by how well someone replicates the exact achievements of those who came before them is just a flawed metric.
It really is.
She couldn't replicate Air Groove's specific dominance over males. That was her limitation. But she dominated where her biology and temperament allowed.
Yeah, she eventually drops back to the Hanshin Himba Stakes for her final race, and fittingly, she wins. She ends her career on her own terms.
A great note to go out on.
Absolutely. After she retires victorious, she becomes a broodmare tasked with carrying this prestigious bloodline forward to the next generation. But the sources note her story takes a very sudden, tragic turn in 2012. What happens?
Yeah, it's very sad. At just 12 years old, which is quite young for a broodmare, Admire Groove suddenly passes away.
Wow.
She leaves behind only 6 foals. It was a shocking loss for the racing world, cutting short what really should have been a long, influential second career.
That feels so abrupt, like she finally figured out who she was and then she's just gone.
It is abruptly tragic.
But reading further into the sources, the impact of those 6 foals, particularly her very last one, completely shifts the tone of this tragedy.
It really does. Her final foal was a colt named Duramente.
Duramente.
And he goes on to win the Satsuki Show and the Japanese Derby, making him a dual classic champion.
Oh, wow.
He achieves the very classic dominance that Admire Groove herself was denied during her grueling battles in the Triple Tiara.
That actually gives me goosebumps.
Oh.
She couldn't win the classics herself, but she birthed the champion who did.
Exactly.
And Duramente doesn't just win. He goes on to become a leading sire, fundamentally shaping Japanese racing for generations.
Yeah.
It's this incredible, bittersweet beauty to the whole thing.
Synthesizing her entire arc reveals a legacy far richer than just a perfect machines record.
Right.
Through Duramente, her bloodline achieved ultimate vindication. She proved her worth not through an unbroken string of easy victories, but through struggle, adaptation, and the genetic resilience she ultimately passed on to the future.
Admire Groove didn't win the Triple Tiara. She didn't unequivocally dominate her generation the way the pundits and that massive 230 million yen price tag demanded.
She didn't.
But she fought. She endured brutal losses, and she rose when it mattered most, becoming a legend in her own distinct, hard-fought way.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more.